guys, welcome back to the NRL Fantasy Scout YouTube channel. It's Artemis here, and I hope you guys have been enjoying the content we have been putting out so far in the preseason. We have our next podcast releasing early next week, where we look at the half positions, and there's a few things to talk about, so stay tuned for that. This video will be a condensed version of the Edge podcast that we released a few days ago, where we'll be talking about a few key players that we think are the most important. But if you want to hear our thoughts on more of the Edge players, check out our podcast on YouTube and Spotify. Kicking things off is cheapies. He was arguably Newcastle's most consistent player last year and put up a lot of 50 plus scores, and even some 16-70 scores, and averaged for the year at 54.6. He made the move this season though to the Tigers and will be on the edge with Dewey playing outside of him. We know that Dewey is more of a passer, so he should be getting a lot more ball and attacking opportunities, but there is potential that when the ball does go down the right, there will be more cutout passes and cheapies making decoy runs. We still think, however, that KPP will be favoured more than Samuela Fainu and should get more ball out of the two edges. The round 1 bye though makes things harder, especially if you have another Tigers player in your team, but the scout team have their eyes on someone who is 4k cheaper and believe there is more value available elsewhere, who we spoke about in our mid-podcast, so for that reason we have him as a wait and see. Now moving on to Olakau'atu, he had a bit of a down year fantasy-wise last year and Manly struggled, and we see Manly having the same sort of season as last year despite the signing of Fogarty. DCE and Hamoli had a very good connection over a number of years, and it will take some time for Fogarty and Hamoli to build a similar connection, we believe. There is no question though about how good of a player he is. He's always in origin contention when he's fit, but we just don't think he is a player to start the season off with. We believe that it is too risky and to wait and see if Manly's season will play out the way we think it will, and if it does, we also think that he will actually drop a bit in price, and if he does, he'll become a nice pickup halfway through the season. This player we'll take a look at is Siwa Wong, and with Radley suspended to round 7, Wong is set to start the year in that edge position. Last year when starting on the edge, he averaged 52.9 when playing 60 plus minutes, meaning there is quite a lot of value on offer. The big question mark though is whether he plays more than 60 minutes. Given that the Roosters pack is stacked, with the Butcher brothers both expected to be in the 17, we believe that either of them will take some minutes off him. In saying that though, Roosters did have a number of injuries last year, and the players who benefited the most from that was Wong and White, who at the beginning of the season we thought wouldn't get a lot of minutes, but ended up getting a decent amount of minutes and became nice pickups throughout the season. For the moment though, we're waiting to get more insight in the preseason matches, and we'll make a decision from there, but neither of the scout team have him in our teams at the moment. Taking a look at our next player, Britton Nikora, he was another player who had a slight decrease in his fantasy output last year, dropping from a 50 average to 43. Excluding the game he got injured though, he averaged 46, which is a couple of extra points of value. If he can see a slight uptick in his run meters and tackles and a slight decrease in his demerits, he can easily return to his 50 average and could be a nice undervalued pick. However, we would rather wait and see how he starts the season, as there's another player who's 55k cheaper that we believe has a lot of value, and that brings me to our next player, David Fifita. A disappointing season at the Titans, Fifita's moved to the Rabbitohs where he looks to reignite his career. There have been a lot of reports saying that he's in great shape and he's set to start on that lethal left edge. He has a career average of 60.8 when starting in the back row, but even if he doesn't play 80 minutes, there's still so much value on offer. He has proven at the Broncos but also at the Titans that he is a player that can make something out of nothing, and when he is on, he's fun to watch. On that left edge as well, we all know he'll be getting plenty of attacking opportunities. Sandro mentioned in the previous video that we don't say must-haves too often, but he's a must-have. Our next player is Jermaine McEwen, who emerged towards the back end of last year when Dylan Lucas got injured, and with KPP departing to the Tigers, there is a left edge spot available that is McEwen's for the taking. Although he will be playing on the opposite edge now, as he filled in last season while Dylan Lucas got injured, in the games that he played 80 minutes, he's averaged 45 points. Now, I know that this is only a small sample size, but priced at 32 points, there's at least 10 points of value on offer, as we expect him to keep his 80 minute role permanent. Next player, we're taking a look at Helium Luki, who's actually a pretty interesting one, and he's actually as well sitting at pretty high ownership, 16%. Now, Luke is returning after tearing his ACL in the 2025 preseason, and there's an opportunity for an edge role, to start the year since Nana is out with a shoulder injury. Although the mail so far is not too promising. The Cowboys plan to ease him in by starting him on the bench and McIntyre starting in that edge role. However, if we do find out that Lukey will be starting and plays around 60 minutes, he should average between 45 to 50 points based on his past stats. Being priced at 24, this makes Lukey an absolute goldmine. But again, this is a big if. If he starts off the bench, we don't recommend buying him, but if he's a starter, I'll be looking to keep him in my team. Next player we'll be taking a look at is Lasardi, who looks like he'll be given the first nod at second row for Melbourne due to the unfortunate injury to Eli Katoa in the Pacific Championship last year, who will miss the season. Now, despite the fact that he won't get the full 80 minutes because he'll most likely share the minutes with Joe Chan, 60 minutes is more than enough for Lasardi. Being nearly basement price, he's projected to score around 40 points in 60 minutes on that edge, and if he's listed as a starter for Melbourne, you'd be pretty silly not to start with him. The final player we'll be taking a look at is Josh Patson, and in the Titans preseason news, it was leaked that Patson looks like the starter on that right edge for the Titans. Again, at his 250k price point, this is absolute fantasy gold. With a solid PPM of 0.86, if he gets 40 minutes alone, he'd be 15 points undervalued. We predict him to play 65 minutes based on the other forwards moving to different roles, meaning even more value. He's definitely one of our favourite picks under 300k. Now, that's it for our player analysis. If you want a more detailed analysis about other players, go and check out our podcast. As you can see here though, there are quite a few valued players in the edge position. We hope that this video has helped in giving you guys more clarity when selecting your fantasy team. Finally, we are still very new in the YouTube scene, so feedback would be greatly appreciated, and if you can like, comment and subscribe, that would be amazing as well. Thanks for tuning in, guys.